Question of the day. A 70-year-old boy is brought into the emergency room, gravely injured. He needs a heart transplant, but there is a limited amount of hearts available and the kid has been on drugs. Unfortunately, it is quite likely that he will overdose and die within the next few years. At the same time, an older lady is brought into the emergency room. She also needs a heart transplant. She is well into her 70s, but is loved by her grandchildren, and she's an active tennis player. She has not yet finalised her will. Both desperately need a heart transplant. They will die otherwise. There are two people, there is one heart. It is your choice. No computer can help you. The decision will rest on your shoulders and time is ticking down. What do you do, Dr. Elijah?
I'd say none of them.
Throw it in the bin. Solomon, with him
half. That's hilarious. If I'm a doctor, screw the old woman. Sorry, you've lived your life. This boy, he better turn his life around though.
Yeah, no,
even
100%.
though he won't.
Yeah,
but hopefully it's the wake-up call. Hopefully it's the wake-up call for him to turn it around.
Yeah, no, I think that's the only... look, what did Whitney Houston say? Children are the future. You can't really... 70s as well. 70s is... That's getting up there.
No, but this is the thing. Because, like, you could give it to the old woman and then her liver goes, you know, and then something else goes.
100%. So, and it's really a waste. Economically speaking, it is a waste of a heart, to be fair. Which, as harsh as that sounds. And it's like they said, you know, they tried to like add value to, because like typically you're always gonna pick the younger person in these scenarios, and they tried to add value to her life saying she's an active tennis player. I was like,
who cares?
Loads of people are tennis players. There's loads of tennis players. No, we don't need. There's not a crying need for tennis players.
And hopefully that will, as I said, it'll wake up the boy. If he knows he's got a heart over a woman who's gonna die. But that's not how addiction works, though. That's
definitely not how addiction works.
You're still gonna go do it, though.
Yeah, of course. Addiction's addiction. You need it. You need it. You're not in control. You're literally not in control. It's not up to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you beat addiction? How do you actually beat addiction? What is the set formula for beating addiction?
Well, if you knew how to do that, you wouldn't be drinking so much.
Man said you just got to stop.
So, intro time, eh?
I don't want to say I haven't got my thing up yet.
Performance issues.
I haven't got it up yet.
That's what you said.
You know? Alright, yeah, go on.
Pause this video right now. Go and read James by
Percival Everett. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you could not read it, because we're going to tell you about it anyway. It's not because I'm Elijah.
And I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Icha Library.
That's definitely not how it goes.
Yeah, but we should just fuck it up on purpose every time, just because, for culture.
So, are you going to read the blurb?
I didn't have the blurb. I literally didn't have the blurb.
Alright, apple juice. Find it quick.
It's apple juice, bruv.
It's apple juice.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the blurb once.
Yeah.
This is like, me reading the blurb is like James May doing the voiceover for the lap.
This better be good. Oh.
No, like Jeremy Clarkson does the voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
James May doing the voiceover
for the Star on a Reasonably Priced Car.
Star on a Reasonably Priced Car.
Top so good, man.
So, the Mississippi... Oh, blood already.
This is why he doesn't read the blurb.
The Mississippi River. That is it's a lot of sissies, PPs.
This is definitely why he doesn't read the blurb.
People say I should drink while we do this. It's not a good idea. We would not get through it, honestly. Man said sissies and PPs.
Who named it, man? Who named that place?
No, that is a weird name.
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
Mississippi River. 1861. When enslaved Jim overhears that he's about to be sold to a new owner in New Orleans and separated from his wife and daughter forever, he decides to hide on nearby Jackson Islands where he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck Finn has faked his own death to escape his violent father, who recently returned to town. Thus begins a dangerous and transcendent journey by raft along the Mississippi River towards the elusive promise of the free states and beyond. As James and Huck begin to navigate treacherous waters, each bend in the river holds promise of both salvation and demise. With rumours of a brewing war, James must face the burden he carries, the family he's desperate to protect, and the constant lie he must live. And together, the unlikely pair must face the most dangerous odyssey of them all. Yeah, that was long.
Oh, it was
It was
long.
a long-
Like
it was a long-
when I thought it was finished, literally to the next
Yeah.
part. But
Yeah.
I don't really know how I feel about the long blurbs. To be fair, not to get into it too much.
Very,
I
yeah,
don't really feel
very
how I
good
feel about
book though. I thought
Yeah, it
the
was
first half was crap. I thought the first half was utter crap. And I was thinking, why the hell am I reading this book? And the second half redeemed it all. And I've just recently found out that Joseph thinks the absolute opposite.
Opposite. I thought the first half was like. The first half was interesting in a way that, because it made me feel like the book was going one way when it really ended up in the
Yeah,
other
the
way,
whole book,
which is not necessarily bad.
The book kept doing that. It done it about
Yeah.
2-3 times.
Yeah.
When you thought it's gonna go this way, and it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's masterful writing. But what I didn't like is the whole point of Huck in the first half of the video, of the book, was just so that James had someone to talk to.
Yeah.
It seemed so forced that this little boy was just following him around.
It did seem a little
didn't
bit.
like
It did seem a little bit forced, but you know what it was, because Huckleberry Finn is like a big character in like writing or whatever. You know, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, are like classic characters or whatever. I thought he was the main character, but it just made sense that he was there just because I heard so much about him and he's just like a classic character, or whatever. Maybe that doesn't make any sense, but.
They mentioned Tom Sawyer in there.
Yeah, no, they did mention Tom Sawyer, and he was a bit more mischievous, shall we say, than I remember when I read Tom Sawyer when I was little. Because I remember reading Tom Sawyer, and you know, old children spoke in weird, funny ways.
This
or whatever.
is it's supposed to be loosely a true story or something like that. It's supposed to be. It's definitely fiction, but I think it's. I mean, it's kind of a generic story. Who wasn't? I'm sure a slave must have been sold and break up his family. He had to try and escape and whatnot. But yeah. I had no idea that the slaves, or should I say the enslaved people, would purposefully use incorrect grammar just to sound more uneducated, just to make the white people feel more superior. They would do this because they would get beaten or punished for making a white folk feel inferior. The black parents would effectively give their children a psychological lesson on how to speak dumb and how to speak to ensure that the white people feel superior. They couldn't say, hey miss, your house is on fire. They would have to say, hey miss, looky here. You know? Did you know they had to do this?
I knew some of it. I didn't really know the extent of it, because when we see the scene where James is like teaching his daughters or whatever, and he's like got them like call and response, and he's like got them that I didn't know it was that to that level of extent that you're teaching them from that young.
I thought they just were dumb and they couldn't speak English.
I'm sure some of them were. I'm sure a lot of them were. But it is really crazy. It's like every day there's new horrific things we find out about slavery, innit? It's like it's never ending.
Yeah.
It is genuinely ridiculous how, with the extent of things people had to go through just to keep themselves safe. The book opens with the internal monologue of a slave called James, or Jim. It takes no time at all for us to get to our first racial slur of the book, which really caught me off guard. Just not because I didn't read the blurb before reading the book. I just went in cold. I went in raw. James hears Huckleberry Finn say to Tom Sawyer, "Do you reckon he's asleep yet?" Sawyer replies, "I reckon so. I heard niggers can fall asleep just like that." Fair play to this author. He's dropped an N slur with a hard ER on us early doors. This lets us know he's not messing about. This is going to be one of those slave stories where the true nature of the time is reflected.
So far, all that has happened is James and Ruck have both... Is it Ruck?
No, it's Huck.
Huck, yeah. I had it wrong for the first half of the book. Yeah, I remembered. I knew that. So far, all that's happened is James and Huck have both run away from the plantation and they seem to be camping out on a nearby woodland. We've had 10 chapters of pointless dialogue between the two. The only noteworthy thing that was said is humans cannot be naturally good. How can we as humans be good if we need to be taught right from wrong? Surely that means we can't be inherently good. So that was philosophical as fuck.
It was. I had some problems with that line of reasoning as well, which I'll get to because I put a comment on it. I had not problems, but I had my own thoughts, which I was like, I disagree with James, who's clearly a very intelligent, very well-spoken, very well-read guy. Intelligent enough to like have a facade. Maintain it for so long as well, because it's not even just the intelligence, it's having the mental fortitude, because that must be exhausted. Imagine you had to pretend to be dumb all day long, like speaking like that. The mental fortitude to do that.
Free my lord.
Oh, then, but yeah, no, imagine you had to do that all day long. Imagine you had to go to work and just pretend like that just all day long and you couldn't let up for 1 second. It's exhausted to do that. But I did disagree with him when he said, you know, things like there is no God, like religion, like yada yada. You know, if you have to taught how to be good, then there is no good, whatever. But
why do you disagree with that? I think that's true.
I don't necessarily think it's true, but again,
I think humans are inherently good as well.
I don't necessarily think humans are inherently good, but I disagree with where he said good isn't really a thing. Good is like,
I don't remember him saying that.
He didn't say that in those words, but he said like, if God has to teach you how to be good, then you can't be good, is what he said.
Yeah, you can't be good inherently. So
no, but he said you can't be good if God has to teach you.
I assumed he meant inherently.
I didn't think he meant that, because why would you need to be? It's obvious that you can't be. It's axiomatically true that you cannot be inherently good if God has to teach you. Someone has to teach you. You can't be inherently anything. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to say that.
No, but we don't recognize that. We think, even someone told me today. Yeah. Today, someone said, it's a natural instinct to help another person. It's natural. I said it's not a natural instinct to help people when they need it. No, it's not. We are taught that. We're socialized, which is why 2-year-olds will bite you, they will hit you, and they don't want to share. We have to be taught these things.
Literally. This is what I said. I said humans are not creatures of principle, creatures of morality. We're creatures of expediency. Expediency means when you do something for your own benefit, regardless of how it affects other people.
And lost.
Speak for yourself, mate. But yeah, no, 100%. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. 100%. And it's a kind of, we do things because it benefits us. We eat because we are hungry, regardless of who has to lose their life or what animal must die for us, for our sustenance, because we are expedient creatures. So it's not necessarily. But again, I'll get onto this. I've got. I love it. Huckleberry Finn expresses atheistic views. I just put this because I found it funny. He said, I don't see no profit in praying to ask for stuff just so I don't get it and learn a lesson about not getting what I asked for. What kind of sense does that make? Might as well pray to that board there. It just made me laugh because he was literally he's just been praying for like new bikes and shit and he just didn't get it. And he was like, yeah, I've give up. Yeah, he said, I give up on this God thing.
James and Ruck had a close call where James hid under a tarpaulin.
You know it's Huck, right? You got to change that. So just say Huck.
Yeah, I know. That was the whole plan. James and Huck had a close call where James hid under a tarpaulin. The author didn't care to explain where they got that tarpaulin from because they ran away. They had nothing. They stole a boat or something which had nothing in it. No, it was a raft that they made.
They had a canoe and a raft.
Yeah, But anyway, the men told Huck that they were looking for a runaway nigger. And Huck said, can you stop distracting me? Huck said that the man underneath the tarp was his uncle sick with smallpox. And that was enough to dissuade the men from checking who was really underneath the tarpaulin. Okay, maybe that's believable, but what is not believable is the men, out of the goodness of their heart, gave Huck $10.
Literally.
$10!
That's like
in 1861.
Yeah, that's like...
Let me ask you a question, Joseph. What is the most amount of money you would give to a random person out of the goodness of your heart on a real good day?
I would have robbed him.
That's not my... What did I ask you?
On a
really good day. What's the most amount of money you're giving to some random homeless person?
Probably like £10.
A tenner.
Probably a tenner.
Well, to answer your question, which you didn't ask, in 1861, $10 is about $376 in today's money.
Even Jim was like, you got a fortune there.
Why did the author not Google that?
Yeah, that's a blunder. That's a huge blunder. Why would he give him $10 just...
So what happened is these men that wanted to search under the tarpaulin said, "Oh, this little boy's got a sick uncle there. He needs some money. Give him some money." And they gave him $10.
They didn't even lift up the tarpaulin to see the uncle if he was a runaway.
They had smallpox and they said no thanks.
Yeah,
that was a serious thing.
But what I thought was that it was a stroke of genius from Huck, to be fair, to say smallpox. Even the word smallpox, a stroke of genius. And what I feel like would have been amazing. What I feel like would have been amazing is if at the end of the book they found out that Huck was faking his accent as much as Jim was faking his accent. Like if they just sprung that on there.
Huck was a white boy, isn't it?
Yeah, he was a white boy. So, but there was another. Who knows? Who knows?
That was
Yeah, who knows? But that was just something that was just an idea that popped into my head. But yeah, it was a stroke of genius from Huck to even say his uncle had smallpox because, like, genuinely, those words were electric. They literally said.
Yeah. Hell no.
Yeah, they said we're not about it because there's no cure back in them times for anything.
Yeah.
So Jim James isn't actually a poorly educated, barely literate southern slave. He's an intelligent, well-spoken man maintaining a cover. A cover which slipped slightly earlier when he used the word necessity. And even Huckleberry Finn must have been thinking, where did this nigger learn that word? He said, huh? And the man went, necessity or whatever. This is an interesting segue for this book, and there are more than a few interesting directions that the author can take. I was thinking, is James undercover in some sort of way? Like, is it more to... Because I remember I didn't read the blurb.
Undercover slave.
Yeah, I was like, remember, I didn't read the blurb. Right?
Never heard that one
is James undercover in some sort of way? A freedom fighter?
He's really a white man.
You know, Scooby-Doo, when they take off the thing. Is he a freedom fighter of some kind? That would certainly explain his vocabulary. I was just thinking, where are they going to... So you can see I'm building up all these ideas for the story in my head, and perhaps that's my fault for, like, the writer didn't let me down, maybe. Maybe I was just going off on a tangent with some of these ideas, perhaps. But yeah, no, as soon as I realised he was faking his accent, I was like, there's unlimited directions the author can go with this. I wonder which one he's going to go with. I wouldn't have went where he went, to be fair. But again, if this is loosely based on a true story...
Anyway, the raft that James was underneath the tarpaulin on capsizes, and Jim gets separated from Huck somehow. And he washes up in Illinois. He's taken away by 4 niggers. He explains that he is a runaway, and they spring into action and ask him if they can get him anything. He says a number of things, but also asks for a pencil. The slaves say, a pencil? What's a runaway nigger need with a pencil? That's what they said. Jim was different to most slaves because he could read and write. So anyway, Boy George gets him the pencil. It wasn't long after George was strung up against a tree and lashed repeatedly for stealing a pencil from his master. I thought it was a nice touch, a heartfelt moment by the author, because me, if I'm reading a book that's in slavery times, I'm expecting to see horrors. And apart from a couple N-bombs, it's been quite tame.
Yeah, it was quite tame. There was no kinds of...
And I actually grew to appreciate that, actually, because, you know, as I said, most people are expecting horrors, but this had the feel of the time, but without the typical horrors.
So what, you feel like it would have been too easy to like just slap in a couple of...
exactly. That's exactly it.
To be fair, we said the exact opposite. When we read Tattooish of Auschwitz, though, we said the exact opposite. I don't know if you remember
because that was a death camp.
Yeah, I know.
Slavery was the time. It was the times. It was so
that's
good.
fair.
People were buying black people to breed them, and some of them were taking them to have sex with them. And
bro, even that guy that was like that guy that he met, that Jim met, when he was like, he's looking for his wife as well, and then he said she's wide hipped and they said she's good breeding stock, and I was like, oh, that's bad, man, that's terrible, that's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
We'll get to that anyway.
It's heartbreaking, but yeah, no, 100%. I definitely I agree to some extent that they capture the time of it without necessarily slapping in the horrors for shock factor.
I mean, they put something
to try and look. They put some stuff in there, but it's like it's to just slap things in there for shock factor. It would have been a bit lazy. It definitely would have been a bit lazy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
It definitely would have been a bit lazy.
I don't know if I wouldn't say I would have marked them down for it though.
It wouldn't,
easy
because
win. It's
you still would have been shocked.
The
shock factor was still shocking, you know?
But I'm saying I appreciate the fact that he's chosen not to do it, is what I'm saying. So, yeah.
This book has some interesting expressions, and it feels like an authentically southern read. After hearing that he's to be sold to New Orleans, not even New Orleans, New Orleans, and split up from his family, Jim escapes to an island to hide. He finds Huckleberry Finn there, who has faked his death to get away from his abusive, drunken father. Huckleberry Finn finds a snakeskin, and Jim says it's bad luck to touch a snakeskin. The snake might come back looking for his clothes. And I was like, funny enough, in a lot of culture, snakeskin is actually considered good luck. But it's just so funny that this guy had... Bear in mind, he's faking his accent and everything. Like, he's found euphemisms and ways to make him sound even dumber, like, by comparison, just to maintain his cover. And it's like the extent that he's going to, just to maintain the image, it just goes to show how much danger these people are actually in. Because like, if you look clever, or if you sound like you could read, or there was like, remember in the beginning where Miss Watson was like, have you been in his library or whatever? And he was like, what, a nigga like me went with a book? And then she just laughed.
Yeah. Apparently, James by Percival Everett is in the top 10 books of 2024. It's enthralling and ferociously funny. A ferociously funny novel that leaves an indelible mark. I'm halfway through the book, and guys, save your money. That's what I take it all back. I do take it all back because the book does get really good, but in the first half of the book, it was a drag for me.
Do you feel like if it wasn't for, do you like a slow burn, for example? So for example,
I don't mind a slow burner, but a slow burner needs to start slow, and in before halfway, it needs to be. I think the start. So if you break a book up into 4 quarters, slow burners there, and then it starts cooking, and then it gets funny. Or it's not funny, but it gets good. Gets good. That's what I think.
So for example, would you have read this book if we wasn't doing this video? Would you have continued? Would you have stopped?
I would have stopped.
You would have stopped.
I would have stopped.
Whereabouts would you have stopped?
I would have stopped quite quickly. Because
immediately.
The beginning.
Literally.
No, I would have stopped. From when they were on the island catching catfish all day and talking to each other, it seemed like we were wasting time. Cut all that crap out. Right, it served no purpose. Served no purpose.
I know what you mean.
It wasn't even character building. It was not even character building.
It was kind of
We didn't learn nothing about Huck.
It was kind of.
We didn't learn nothing about Huck. We didn't learn nothing about James.
But the thing is, James's character is his real character. But we did learn a lot through his expositional dialogue and through his internal monologues. We did learn a lot about him.
Yeah, but
and the differences between him and the character that he portrays. So we did learn. There was some character building there, 100%. That's undeniable. Whether it was a waste of time or not is up for discussion. But there was definitely some character building there. There was some. Huckleberry Finn said some stuff where it's like you get kind of an insight into his personality, yada yada. Like you learn his dad beats him, for example. That's character building.
We could have learned that in 1 second. we didn't need half a book to learn that, mate. And we didn't care about it either.
And the thing is, well, look, it all adds up. It's not nothing, as you love to say. It's not nothing. Like, we learned his dad beats him. We learned his dad's a joke. We learned his dad, he literally said, what did he say? He said his dad doesn't like his hairline or something. And I was like, that's just such a strange thing to beat your child over. Like, he looks at his hairline and he slaps him up in his head. And he said, because he has a widow's peak, which is like a pointy trim. Where it's like it looks like an arrowhead or whatever, but there was definitely some character building there. I think it's unfair to say that it was.
I didn't say this. Okay, it was an exaggeration. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
Good. Don't let it happen again. Don't let it happen again. My perception of this book while reading this is of our main character Jim as a sort of anthropologist living amongst gorillas. He is intelligent enough to understand how they think and how they act. He behaves like them and talks like them in order to blend in. But when he is alone with his family or during internal monologues, the quality of his vocabulary is that of a scientist or man of a learned profession. When observing hawks hunting on the island, Jim realises that this precedes a storm. He tells Huck that there gon' be big rain, and later while observing the rain, he says to himself, my prediction was not only correct, but grossly understated. And it's just crazy how this guy's just switching up between the two, and it's just genius how he's doing it, really. And it was very, very, very entertaining to me. The juxtaposition between bumbling fool and intelligent scholar gives the reader the impression that they've been let in on a huge and entertaining secret. And it was just very entertaining for me, which is why I enjoyed the first half of the book, to be fair, because it was just entertaining. I think it was entertaining anyways. I think it was well done. I think it was well written in terms of the vocabulary that the writer chose to use.
Top 10 books of the year.
Well, I don't know. I ain't read all the books of the year.
That's the thing. For you to say that statement, that means they've put other books as obsolete. Because there's only 10. And if they said it's in, that means it's taken up a spot.
Yeah, exactly. It's taken at least one spot, by the way, which is realistically it's more than one spot. But I couldn't say, for example, whether it's been top 10 books of the year. I haven't read all the books of the year. I didn't realise how early are we in the year as well. It's April. Do you know what I mean?
Don't know how they
There's like 9 months of the year left.
I don't know how they decide that. But yeah, it's interesting to be immersed into slavery roles where a guy could just be beaten by any white person. You could literally be walking down the road and a white man just start whooping you. A slave called Easter was being beaten, and his slave master came in angry and said, Why are you beating my property? Do you think Easter was like,
Probably.
Only my master can beat me. But yeah, one thing this book is missing is the mindset of the enslaved African Americans. Jim knew he was as smart, if not smarter than the white folk. But what are the opinions of the collective? Why did nobody think of organising a revolution? Did they really believe that the slave masters were a good thing? Because that's the book didn't touch on that. You know?
Yeah.
Some of the other black guys were talking to him kind of in a normal, they didn't lay it on thick, the darkness, but we didn't get to the mindset of
The enslaved mindset.
Yeah, we never heard a conversation of the black people saying, "Oh, you know, this it's not really fair." When it's not that we are less of. It's not like we are less than them. There was nothing to do with that, and that would have been interesting.
100%. And in a lot of these slavery productions, a lot of movies or books or productions about slavery, we see the enslaved mindset that is hopelessly dependent upon the system that they fight to protect it. In fact, like in Django Unchained, like we see the Uncle Toms. In fact, and we didn't really see too much of that. We didn't see too much of the slaves that get good treatment.
Yeah, we didn't,
so to speak, saying, you know, what's better than what we got right here. There was a line where Jim was like, if it wasn't for God, Huck was like, do you believe in God? And he said, yeah, if it wasn't for God, we wouldn't have this wonderful life that we have right here. That's what he was saying. And it's like, this is why I was entertained, because he's so good at playing part of the dumb nigger that is literally just doing his job, doing his chores or whatnot. And meanwhile, all the while he can read, he can write, he's intelligent scholar or whatnot. But I definitely agree. There could have been more of the indoctrination, let's say, of the black people and how they imprison the minds as opposed to just imprisoning the bodies. Being undercover is incredibly dangerous. Suppose you were a Frenchman or Englishman in World War II that spoke fluent German, good enough to pass for a native. You might well be selected to partake in an undercover assignment. Suppose you did everything right, spoke perfect German, insinuate yourself amongst the Nazi officers, and accidentally gave yourself away by speaking perfect English in your sleep. On the island, Jim gets bitten by a rattlesnake and has a delirious dream where he speaks to the philosopher Voltaire about the evils of slavery. He uses such words as hierarchy and contingent, and when he wakes from his delirium, Huckleberry Finn is looking at him sideways, like looking at him like, nigga, this is the second time you've been doing this. Like, using these illegal words. That could easily have been months of years of being careful, playing the part down the drain because you fell asleep.
I've definitely snitched on myself while I'm sleeping. Been caught out.
Same, man. Caught out. 4K, you know.
Caught out.
It's ridiculous. But,
what name did you say in your sleep?
Oh, God, it's ridiculous.
Them ones.
Literally. Who's Venice? But nah, it was
that was Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street, yeah, literally. And he was like, "We're buying land in Venice."
Man said, who? What are you, an owl?
Yeah, nah, it's ridiculous. But nah, in all seriousness, like, it's crazy how, well, obviously you wouldn't hear about it, but makes you wonder, does that kind of thing happen? Like, you're undercover or whatever, and like your whole, you're getting shot because you said something in English.
You just say, I don't know, my mind must have picked up from TV.
Nah, there's no way. In World War wartime, you're not getting away with that. You're not getting. This is your accent, perfect English, perfect accent, the King's English.
So Jim met another slave who said he wants to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible, so he could buy his wife out of slavery. He said he heard the white people say that she's very pretty and that she's good breeding stock. You think I could go away for a year and work my ass off to make money to come back and find the next man's baby and my wife? Are you mad? That's crazy.
You
see how Django ended with the house blowing up and everybody dead?
Yeah, that's what would happen. But with the wife still in there.
So you taking on the baby, Joseph? Man said, take the water and left the what?
Yeah, take the water and left the what? There's no chance. There's no chance. I ain't raising no cracker baby.
No what?
I ain't raising no cracker baby. What? No, but in all seriousness though. In all seriousness though. In all seriousness. Look.
But no, that's another thing though. Why would you even get married or bring children into the world?
Yeah, nah. Like, in that condition where you have that quality of life.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I'm just thinking about what you said. I don't understand why these black people are getting married and having children. They don't make no sense to me.
Well, remember what we said when we read Inglorious Empire, what the British did to India, and it was like, Indians, like, you know what the state of the economy is in. You know what Britain's doing to your country, and what you did, multiply. India's got 1 billion people, same
well, it's funny.
as China, you know?
Alright, well, I watched a film under my dad's instruction called Goodbye Uncle Tom. And it's about slavery, and it's a really raw film. It's not what I expected, and I literally watched it this morning. And the white people said that they will transport hundreds, if not thousands, of black people, all chained together. And he said, at night time, they will be having sex. He said, it doesn't matter how much you chain them up, they will all be having sex down there. And it's just this human, we're a virus, as I said. You know, we just want to. We have a desire to reproduce or to have sex or whatever. And it doesn't matter what situation, they're in chains and they're still doing it.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing to do.
I guess it's kind of savage.
It is kind of savage, but again, we forget
self-control.
We forget humans are animals because we have all this technology and all this civilization, so to speak. We forget humans are actually primates. We're animals, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like we have animal instincts. Our animal instincts, we're mammals, and our instincts are to reproduce. That is like, if there's one thing that we want to do is reproduce. In the absence of everything else, like no food, no what, nothing, reproduce. That's it. And it's like, even, remember what I said about, you know, poor people love having children even when they don't have money for children. They still. You
ain't got no TV. You can't afford a TV.
They literally they need to be occupied in some way, shape or form. And it's literally just like, listen, can't afford condoms, that's it.
This book is a slow burner. Just for the sake of bringing everybody up to speed, Jim meets another former slave, a black man that easily, consistently passes for white. Jim comes up with the idea to run a con where the other guy poses as a white man, where they repeatedly sell Jim. Jim will escape and they'll keep selling him until they have enough money to buy back their families. There's a scene where Jim, against better judgment, decides to take one of the slave girls with him when he escapes. He feels sorry for her, especially because he's got a daughter the same age as the girl. The part where they got separated in the woods had my heart racing. Because obviously, if they are caught, then she might be killed and it would be all Jim's fault. So that was the part where, I can't remember why they got separated in the woods. But I think, so basically, they run away, they wait till the slave masters went to sleep, they escaped, whatever. They go to the woods, he's trying to meet the white man. Because these black men, you cannot walk down the street without a white man.
Of course not.
You're getting taken, which is funny enough what happened in this story a few times. You know, he just gets taken by people, you're my slave now, sort of thing.
Literally.
And he's in the woods, and he kind of walks off 100 meters to find the white guy. I think it's a mixed race guy, but he's very, very, very light. To find where he's supposed to be meeting, because obviously they're going to run the con again. And then he hears a scream from the girl. And when I heard that, I was thinking, bloody hell, she's been caught and it's over or whatnot. But she bumped into the white man, she was screaming because it's a white man. And but she was all right till then. Oh yeah, that's what I was meant to say. Remember Boy George? That gave him pencil?
I think it was Young George. He was
Young George, Boy George, whatever. They ended up stringing him up and hanging him for stealing the pencil, you know. They never found a pencil on him.
Yeah, literally.
But when Jim found out about that, he said, bloody hell, you know.
It was all his fault, literally.
Of course it was his fault. But, well, it's not his fault, but he said he's going to put that pencil to good use. So that...
Yeah, you have to. You have to. It's the same thing we said with the
Lily
heart.
Boffin's died.
Literally.
This pencil. We can make a joke because it's not a true story. Really.
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's like what we said in the question of the day about, like, you get the heart, you better put that, you know, to good use. Like, somebody literally laid down on the wire for this. And it was like, for the silliest of reasons as well, or what seems to be the most trivial reasons, obviously writing this is very important, especially in the time that he was in. And for someone like who he is, black person, writing's definitely important. But when you see that this guy got lashed, then hung, one or the other will suffice. You need to do both. They lashed him, then hung him. So it was super ridiculous how, and until you teach you about the guilt of dealing with that. If you need good explained to you, if you need some rule or some god to tell you good from bad, then you won't ever know. Jim's philosophy on the nature of humans to be good. While he was clearly a very intelligent, well-spoken and well-read guy, especially at a time when it was neither easy nor safe for blacks to be either, he's wrong. At least I think he's wrong. Good needs God. Without God, good and bad are figments of our imaginations, phantoms of an overactive psyche. Our animal instincts aren't to be good or to not be bad, but to survive and do whatever it takes to survive. Our animal instincts do not encourage us to be creatures of morality, but rather creatures of expediency. We eat because we are hungry, regardless of the price that another life must pay for our sustenance. Think back to what Huck Finn said about praying. I don't see the profit in it. That's literally what he said. He said, what's the point? Might as well pray to this board right here. This is what humans are like. We only do things that we see profit in. And in every holy book there is, God's promise is that if we are good, we will receive some form of remuneration. Some call it heaven, some call it karma. But the only way it makes sense for humans to wish to be good at all is if we wish for it because we think God will give us something out of it at the end of the day. We wish to be good because God is good. And we wish to avoid evil because Satan is evil. And those are like the paragons of good and evil. Like, you work your way up the structure. Somewhere, if you work your way up the good scale, you think, who's the best person you know? Maybe your parent. Who's the best person you know other than that? Maybe you'll get out the scale to like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, whatever. At the top of the scale is God. When you think of the most evil person you know, once you've got past Hitler and all these people, you get to Satan. That's it, at the end of the line.
But I think one of the most interesting things you said is that we only do good things because God has promised us.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, God's promised us something out of it.
It's interesting. I mean, there's definitely books about how slavery, how Christianity was put onto slaves to control their mind, but it is kind of like a fairy tale thing where you're told if you be good, then you get to go to heaven. You know, because if there wasn't that.
Yeah, no,
why are you being good?
100%. Why do you want to be a good person in the first place?
If there's no consequences.
Especially because being a good person often, not even sometimes, often it comes at the cost of what is best for you. This is what I mean about expediency. So if you're going to be good at the cost of what it is best for you, which is against the nature of a human in the first place, it's got to be because you think there's going to be some kind of material gain for you or some kind of remuneration, reward at the end of the line. Some crock of gold at the end of the rainbow that you're going to be able to collect. And God, in every single holy book that there is, promises if you're good and you follow these rules, yada yada yada, these commandments, etc., then there will be a place for you in the garden, or karma. Even people who don't even believe in God believe in karma. They believe what you spread comes back round. So that is, you know, incentive for you to be a good person, so to speak. But if good was just you're good for the sake of it, nobody would do it. It doesn't make any sense.
Definitely. I mean, I don't. It was revealed that the young girl he rescued, named Sammy, said that the slave master would rape her nearly every night from when she was really young. I only wish that this was revealed to him in the moments before he decided to take her with him. That could have been the deciding factor. It could have pushed on ours and his moral compass to save the girl. It would have been better for the flow of the story. But this is shaping up to be a very good book. So he wanted to take her, but he didn't want to take her. He wanted to take her, but he kind of just decided to take her along with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have done more to the story to make it more effective, make it more impacting. But yeah, the book started to get good after halfway.
Is this when it started to get good for you, like the book? Because this is when it started to, not bad for me, but it's just like I was less entertained by the characters. And I feel like it became more plot driven than it was about the characters. I know how you feel about the beginning of the book in the first place, but I felt like the beginning half of the book was very...
Yeah, but even James, he became a developed character by the end of the book. Before he was just a 2D character, but as we're gonna we'll go through it, but it just became more of a 3D story anyway. Because, you know, remember he got taken to be a singer.
Yeah.
You know, and it looked like, okay, maybe he's gonna stay with these lot, make some money, and then buy his wife, and then he cut from them. And then he was going to do cons, and then he cut from that.
And he even stole the idea to do the cons from the other people.
So he was doing the cons to make the money, where he's freed this young girl. So the story kept changing, and it made it interesting because you think it's going one way, and it completely changes, and that's really definitely good writing if you can make this plot line believable and then just throw it away.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I agree that it is like... I think it's shock factor again. I think setting up the audience to believe one thing, and then it takes some form of understanding of plots and story writing. It takes a good understanding to be able to sell that, I think. Yeah. So that's where I agree with you. Having said that, I don't necessarily...
Now onto the story.
Now
onto the story. It's a bloody
It's a bloody disgrace. It's a bloody... Picture me a sailboat. So you give me here. But,
you can leave.
Yeah, nah. Not that way. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness though, I genuinely think that it's not... It doesn't mean that it definitely is good writing just because you've gone a different way. Like, you can go in a way that the audience expects and still go in that way and end up at a destination. I think you're going to end up in it still be good writing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that plot device makes it a good...
But that's why I started to enjoy it, because before that I was just like...
I just feel like he was bored before. He was bored. He was bored before. Which, look, boredom is never a good thing, you know, in entertainment. We're in an entertainment business here, I guess. But yeah, no, I preferred the first half of the book, but I appreciate the first half of the book. And the second half of the book, it went in
the middle. Bang, go.
Like the last murder at the end of the world started in the middle.
we had complaints with that one as well.
Oh god, yeah, we did, we literally did. But my last note is about this, but I've got 3 more, but
I've got maybe 4 more.
Okay, you go then. You
go. The scene on the boat where everybody was drowning and Jim was being called by Norman. Norman was the white man. The white slave. Yeah. No, the free man that they were using to run the cons. So Jim was being called by Norman and Huck.
You're terrible. You're terrible. Nuck, everything but Huck, innit?
Jim was being called by Norman. So basically, the boat was going down and Jim was in the middle and Huck was over there. And Norman was over there. And both of them couldn't swing. And Nuck was down there. But it was good writing and a great reveal. Because what happened was basically, they both was calling and he said, I made my decision. And then it cut scene and then he was dragging their body onto the sand. And we didn't know who he saved until the dialogue kept going and we find out that he saved Huck over Norman, and Norman was the guy that he was running the cons with. Norman was the guy he needed to make the money for his family, but he decided to save Huck. And then they ruined it by Huck turned out to be his son. Why did you save me? Why did you save me? Why did you save me? Why did you save me over your friend? He said, because Huck, you're my son. And he was like, huh? That's why your daddy beats you, because you know you could tell that it wasn't really his, and there weren't no DNA things back then.
Yeah, no, there really wasn't.
But I think the story, I think that was unnecessary, and I think they should have just killed Huck off. I think it would have been better for the story, because we kind of cared about Huck in a little way.
100%. I think, sorry, not to cut you off, but I think as soon as you said the only purpose of Huck in the story was for James to talk to, straight away I was like, I know for a fact. Even when I was reading it, I was like, I know Elijah's going to expect them to kill off Huck at the end of the story. He's going to consider it a failure, consider it a missed opportunity if they do not build up Huck as like a character that we care about and then slaughter him at the end. Yeah. And they had the perfect opportunity, because in these times, these are these trials and tribulations times. Like his mission was to like buy his family back, which is like
Norman was the only way it was gonna happen.
It's the only way it's gonna happen. It's the only way it's gonna happen. So realistically, you can't afford to choose Huck. It's not about how you feel in a moment. So I definitely agree with you there. He definitely should have done that. And I also think since 1980. Since Empire Strikes Back, people have been doing this I am your father thing. They've been redoing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and it's never gonna die out, because it blew so big in the moment when Darth Vader said that for the first time. People were like, "You're lying," and like since then, it's just the biggest reveal of all time. But people have been trying to emulate it for years.
Yeah, it's so true. You've actually ruined it even more now. I haven't finished. It might have been better for the story if they killed Huck off, though. I also think it's quite clear why Jim doesn't want Huck to come with him up north to free his family. He doesn't want to have to tell his wife that he's got a son that he don't know about.
Yeah, literally. Men are the same, innit? Don't matter. Slavery, Auschwitz, anything. Don't matter. Yeah. There's a point that I forgot to put in, but I just remembered it. When he was with Norman and they saw that woman, and that woman was like, what did your nigga say? When they was walking down the road, it was like, what did your nigga say? Did your nigga look at me? Or something like that. And it was literally just got troubled for no reason. This boy, did he look at me? What did he say? He's mumbling. Jim let his facade slip around Huck for the first time. It must be incredibly exhausting having to remain in character 24/7, especially if your life depends on it, and the smallest mistake could mean the unravelling of everything. And Huck literally said, Huck was pretending to sleep, and he was talking to Easter. I think it was Easter anyways. He was talking to Easter, and Easter kind of clocked that he wasn't like this dumb slave or whatever, and you could always tell when like Jim was like using proper King's English and whatnot and saying like big words, and he was like, yeah, Huck's asleep. And when they finished talking, Huck woke up and then he was like, you don't trust me, do you, Jim? And he was like, why wouldn't I trust you? And he's gone back into his old slave talk, whatever, and he was like, you don't talk with me like how you talk, like I just heard you talking with. And it was for me, it was a really good scene. That scene when Huck finds out that, or finally clocks that Jim is not, you know, the dumb slave that he pretends to be. But I don't know. I was wondering if they was gonna have that scene at all, whether it was gonna have Huck find out at all. I was wondering if they was gonna have it. Do you think it would be better if they didn't have it? If like he maintained his cover for like the whole.
I don't think the cover is as big of a deal as you think it is. I don't really care. I don't. You have your cover.
It's part of his personality. It's part of his personality. It's part of his character.
You have the cover when you're talking to white people. Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting psychologically in the beginning, but I moved off that. I don't really. It doesn't make no difference to me.
So it wasn't as important to have it with like Huck and some of the other main characters.
No, I don't think it made much of a difference. He pretty much, James just needed to shut up and not say much throughout the whole book.
Must have done.
Really, all he needed to do was to run that con. He didn't have to talk. Do you know what I'm saying? So his personality, I don't know. I liked the way the story went because of the storyline, not because of the characters.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I
Like
don't rate
in the
character.
second half of the book was plot driven, 100%.
Yeah,
It turned into like a Django Unchained kind of story.
I rate the character the way James kind of grew as a person in terms of confidence, in terms of, should I say, taking action. So yeah, but I think the story writing and idea behind it was quite clever. So I said I really like the dynamic of Jim having these dreams where he's effectively searching his thoughts and feelings. Ultimately, it's been a waste of an idea. It could have been revelation after revelation. It could have been a philosophical dialogue between him and himself about the idea of slavery and human nature. He could have initially believed that he was having a conversation with God, but then it turned out to be himself. He could have been having dreams about his family or life growing up as a boy. I think this is a good book, but it could have benefited from some time skipping. Anyway, in the dream, they did say a quote which I thought was quite powerful. They said, "There's a war coming, and if they win, then maybe you won't be a slave, but you won't be free." So I thought that was quite.
It is, and it's, to be fair, it's powerful retrospectively because very few people could have known the true extent of what that meant at the time it was said.
Yeah.
Because people think freedom is like, yeah, we're free. Do you know what I mean?
As I said, I watched Goodbye Uncle Tom today, and they, as I said, it's slavery like you've never seen it before. We not glorify it, should I say, we televise it in a way where it looks like this super brutal thing. I'm not taking anything away from it, but it was effectively a business. And they spoke to some slaves. It's not real. It's obviously a fictional story. But they spoke to some slaves, and they were like, "Don't you want to be free?" And they were like, "Free?" He said, "I work very little hours." I think he had a profession. I work very little hours. I get fed. I got a house over my head. I don't pay taxes. He said, "I got medical care, free medical care." He said, "I see these free labourers, they're working 15 hours a day to
working
make
themselves to the bone.
They make it to try and make ends meet, and they don't, and they got to look after themselves. They got to pay taxes. They got to find their own house." He said, "I got everything I need."
Yeah, literally.
You know, what's the issue? So
literally.
So you know, this freedom that we have fought for. I'm not trying to be ungrateful.
Yeah, no, of course not. Like,
are you free?
Do we feel free? No, babe, do you feel it, Charge? But no, in all seriousness, it's genuinely true because it's not necessarily just to look. I heard a great quote one time. He literally said, "Slaves, people who were enslaved during the Great Atlantic Slave Trade, they didn't have money, they didn't have rights, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. They worked all day and they were given food, clothing, and housing, right? And now we work for just enough money to pay for food, clothing, and housing. So it's essentially the same thing.
Same shit.
We pay taxes, like it's the same thing. We can't do what we want all day. We have to go to a place we don't really like, to do jobs we don't really like doing, to work with people we don't even really like or never talk to if we weren't at the job. So it's not really, until you can do what you want every single day without fearing for the welfare of yourself or your family, you're not really free. So this is why I say it's retrospectively, it's a bigger quote than it probably would have been at the time, because people would have been like, "What do you mean we're not free? We can do what we want, right?" No, you can't. But you can't understand that until you've experienced it.
Yeah. I think I found a plot hole as well, by the way.
How is it?
So James makes it back to his original plantation. Why? He didn't have the money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So wait.
Exactly. See? Plot hole.
Oh,
plot hole alert.
Gotcha. We should have an alarm where we press it. We should have an alarm where we press it.
Plot hole alert.
Plot hole alert.
Sirens going off.
Literally.
So yeah, just to bring our readers up to speed, our listeners, Jim makes it back to his original plantation, where he finds that his wife and daughter have been sold on. He is obviously distraught and inconsolable. He then takes some shelter and falls asleep, hidden in a barn with a black couple. Anyway, he's woken up by the woman telling him to hide quickly. The slave master's coming. The slave master comes in, and he's looking for anybody. And he's not looking for anybody but the woman. He tells her to drop her drawers. Despite her cries and screams, he has her as he pleases. Jim says to himself, I'd love to jump on the man and kill him, but if I do, many of the sold slaves, including him, will be killed as punishment, and he'll come back and repeatedly rape the girl anyway, so it's futile. After the slaver had finished, the husband came back in with a sullen look on his face with his shoulders drooped. He knew what was happening. How was that scene for you?
It's tough because it's like Jim's right, you know, in the sense of this is the way the world is, you know, like, okay, cool. Let's say he jumps on the guy, beats him up, kills him, yada, yada, yada. There's going to be 50 more slave masters that she's going to get sold onto if she even survives that are going to do the exact same thing. And it's like, for the husband, there's nothing really you can do. There's nothing you can do. And it's like, the hopelessness of that situation is not something that is known to people like us who live in the modern world, you know? It's not, we don't know that kind of hopelessness. We don't know that kind of powerlessness.
Let me stop you there.
What?
It was me! I don't care about all that other stuff. He ain't getting away with that. He's dead. If I'm dead too, then that's fine, but he's dead. 100%. I don't care about all the other black people that's gonna...
Oh, you're asking me what I would do in that situation?
I know, I just said, how did you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, no.
I was... Emotions were invoked inside of me. There's no way. Call yourself a man. You just come in, my man, just done out your... What? And you just say, thank you, Mouse. Are you
To be fair, you wouldn't have lived that long.
I wouldn't have lived that long.
No, you wouldn't have lived that long.
Because that wasn't the first time. He obviously...
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have been there.
Bold in there. That, you know, I ain't come... He came in and the woman said, oh, my husband... Da, 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 da. He said, I ain't come for him. I came for you. Drop your drawers. You mad. You're mad. This is the thing. You know, a lot of these black people, they need to have a backbone. They need to stand up for themselves. They need to fight and die for what they believe in. And if it means that you kill one slave master for raping one woman and 10 of you die, then you do that because it sends a message. The white people are going to think, oh, yeah, I don't know if maybe I shouldn't because, you know, it's going to cause a whole heap of problems. So, yeah, no, these lot, they were flaccid. I don't know.
I think that's a good look. It's a good passive is a better way. Passive is a better way to put it. And the thing about black people is, especially the black community nowadays, is we don't actually back one another, which is why we're a passive community as opposed to an aggressive community or a community that imposes itself in any way, shape, or form. Right? So black people don't buy for black people, or black people don't support black people. So we're always going to come second to other communities. But yeah, no, that kind of thing is why we don't really have things that we believe in. We don't really have things that we're prepared to fight for and die for. But if you're asking me how...
Why are you scared of dying as a slave so that you can continue serving? Nah, come on, bro.
Look, it's tough. It's tough in... I know what you mean, but it's tough when you're in that situation. It's tough. It's easy to say it here. We're reading it and we're like, yeah, la, we're going to go off.
I couldn't have a wife in them times.
Yeah?
I couldn't have a wife in them times.
I wouldn't have a wife in these times. No, I'm joking, but...
I'm talking about, no, I'm tired. But also, white man gets it when he wants.
That's mad. Listen.
You're mad. You are mad. And you're mad too.
What do you mean?
I don't know. You're just mad. But yeah, I've got 2 more. I've literally got 2 more. So
alright, go on. I think I did my last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did my last one.
Alright. I want to say that the book is very good, and the way the story pivoted and you didn't know which way it was going to go, from the singing circus to the cons with Norman, it always kept you guessing. It was very good. It was very good, but yeah, I already mentioned this plot hole. But lastly, does Jim deserve to be hung for the unjust killing of Hopkins? No trial, it was straight execution. And we don't execute for rape. Not to mention, he was completely well within his rights to have sex with his property. So Hopkins was the guy who raped the black girl. Yeah. So Jim ended up catching him, you know, a couple of days later by the river, or whatever it was, went behind him, strangled him to death. Does he deserve to be hung? It was an unjust killing. No trial,
Yeah,
no
it was.
sentencing.
And the law, like you said, the law was in the favour of the guy.
You see, it's his property. He couldn't have sex with his property.
100%.
So
I mean,
you're the
probably,
judge.
to be fair.
You're the judge.
I mean, the thing is, if
You're the judge.
you're a judge, you got to go by the law. You would actually have to hang him.
They don't. Well, judges, you know, you can give him a lesser punishment.
You know, you could give him a lesser punishment.
Does he deserve to be hung?
No, I don't think he deserves.
What do you mean? He broke the law. He executed someone. We don't execute people for anything.
I don't necessarily think breaking the law means you deserve to be hung. I don't think that's.
Alright, is he a murderer?
Yes.
So.
Well, it depends. If he's is he a murderer? Because murder means, what does murder mean?
So.
You know,
homicide.
Premeditated taking of another person's life for. Does there have to be a reason? Let me check this up. Let's ask each other. You know.
Either way, it is murder. There's no two ways about it.
Look, it's definitely killing, but is it murder?
What? It was premeditated.
It's premeditated, but is there a provision for this to count as defense of some kind, not self-defense? Because he wasn't protecting himself.
Defending no one. He wasn't saving no one. That man was. He was an unarmed man. He could have took him prisoner.
Okay, it says here. Yeah, it does count as murder. It does count as murder. The unlawful premeditated killing of one human being by another. Right, so unlawful means it was against the law. So yes, it was murder. Having said that, in these situations, and especially Great Atlantic slave trade, how long did this go on for? 400 years? Like, how many atrocities was committed? How many, you know,
so
it's
what,
like...
let him off?
I'm not saying let him off. I'm not necessarily saying let him off. I'm just saying, does he deserve to be hung?
Yes.
Like, by God's law, by the law of God, does he deserve to be hung? I don't know if I would say so. I don't think he deserves. What I will say is this: I don't think he deserves anything equal or worse than what the guy was doing. Huh?
Than a round of applause.
Deserves a reward. Deserves to be freed and paid.
Did he do the good thing?
I think probably on the balance of it, probably yes. Probably yes.
On balance,
probably yes.
Yeah, he did a good thing.
On balance, probably yeah. Probably yeah. On balance.
Poor Hopkins' children, eh?
Yeah, poor Hopkins' children, yeah.
What the...
Poor them children.
Lost their daddy.
Children. Well, their daddy wasn't a good person, was he?
So he should get killed.
Huh?
So he should get killed.
Well, I think you reap what you sow. And their daddy reaped what he sowed. You know?
He reaped, didn't
he? He reaped more than he sowed.
He reaped and he reaped.
No, in all seriousness though, there's no like... When a person dies, it's like a ripple in a pond. It affects more people than just you. Like, when you leave this earth, people who know you are affected, probably more than you're affected, based on what we know.
I'm pretty sure Jim died of that in the same moment Hopkins did. Jim died at the same moment Hopkins did.
Oh, what? His person, who he was?
As he was. That
black mark was against his name, wasn't it? To hell. You're going to hell, just for that.
The Jim before that wasn't a murderer.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. That's a good point, to be fair. Because, I've never murdered anybody yet. But I've never murdered anybody. But it must be life before this, life after this kind of situation, kind of scenario. But
do you ever get messages that is?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. What do you think I've been answering this entire? Let me see if I can find.
All right, but yeah, I think this is
same day every week. Yeah. Same day every week.
Well, yeah, that's everything. We're reading 2 books again next week, as always. Is what we do. It's what we do.
So like this.
Yeah, but yeah, as we do, we're going to be reading Why We Die by somebody, and we're reading Funny Story by somebody else. So yeah,
we will know who the authors are by the time.
When it matters.
When it matters.
Let's end with the quote of the day. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
See, that now really puts into perspective what you're actually doing when you feel angry. Because, like, feeling angry is one of those times when emotion is running roughshod over you and you're like, you're not thinking, you're not in your, you know, put your fucking mouth shut, you know?
I don't understand this anger.
Rage is, well, you don't experience, like, rage when you're like, you don't experience that.
No, I don't get angry. I mean, I get annoyed. When things don't make sense, and it's normally when women.
Ah, yeah, I knew this is coming.
That's the only thing that will annoy me. Apart from that,
it's all good.
Yeah, maybe it's like I'm a computer. When mathematical equations don't work when they should. You know? And it just doesn't. It's not computing. But apart from that, what is there to get angry about?
I don't really... This is funny I should say this.
I just said... We are getting aggravated.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I don't really get angry anymore. I used to get angry a lot, to be fair. I don't really get angry anymore.
Problems, mate.
Huh?
You used to have anger problems.
No. I used to have anger. It wasn't a problem. But, yeah, no, look, I don't really get angry anymore. Like, things will happen at work. Like, for example, I wasn't in a fight with a customer the other day. I got into a heated altercation with a customer the other day that was trying to stress me out. But I don't really get angry about things anymore. But it is... surely you know what it's like to experience rage, though. To experience such blinding rage that you don't know what's flip the table. You know when to flip a table? Never?
No, never. I've had people vandalise my car, which is very expensive, and I've just been like...
What did you do?
Nothing.
No, come on, you didn't do... Listen, vandalism doesn't drop out of the sky. What did you do?
Oh, what did I do to them?
Yeah.
Nothing. Actually, nothing. And also, do you know what? I moved to Kent, and people... opened cans of spaghetti and poured it over my car. I don't know why.
That's such a random way.
I don't know why. I woke up in the morning, I looked out the window and I saw like orange sauce on my car. I was like, wait, what's going on? And I went outside and there was spaghetti all over my car.
You never heard about spaghetti phobia? Maybe they thought you had that.
And actually they had keyed my car a bit as well. And I went, well, that's weird. And I took it to the car wash.
They keyed it.
And my car's a very nice car. And I was just like...
It was before I had spaghetti all over.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Some people say it's race. It was a race attack.
It was racially charged.
Racially charged, what?
They keyed your car and they said, you know what would really get this guy if we got some spaghetti cans and poured all these spaghetti cans all over this car. But yeah, no, anger. What was we talking about? Anger. Honestly, it's really... You should never let anybody push your buttons. You should never let anyone see your buttons to push them in the first place. Like, you should never let anybody dictate how you feel today. Like, I watch football all the time, right? And some guy said to me, he said, watching football is gay. And he said, watching football is gay because why would you let a team of men that don't know who you are decide how you're going to feel for the week? And I said, that's just such a good point, isn't it? It's a good point. You should never let anybody else decide how you feel.
100%.
Only you should decide how you feel.
Never decide how you feel either. Don't feel nothing.
Don't feel anything.
But yeah, all right, guys. Until next time. As I said, subscribe. Do it.
Like, comment, do it. Like, comment, and subscribe.
But yeah, until next time, we'll see ya.